I've gotten everything that I've wanted and now I'm ready to go to the next place, but I'm kind of stuck, it feels. So I'm trying to be responsible, say no to the carrots, trying to be a good TVMer.
I can tell that Parker's opportunity is so close to him. That's the channeling I'm getting.
From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacy Phillips.
And your host, Jessica Gill.
As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. Part of our manifestation process entails expanding past your limiting subconscious beliefs. Therefore, by tuning into this podcast with interviews from experts, thought leaders, spiritual teachers, scientists, and those with neural manifestation success stories, you're starting the process of expanding your subconscious in order to see to believe that anything you desire is possible. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expanded. Jessica here. We are in week 6, the final week of the Magnetic Self Challenge. And this week is all about facing our fears. Over the last few weeks, as you guys have been following along, as you're connecting with your magnetic self, you're noticing when you are dysregulated, you are starting to peel back layers of your shadow, you are starting to see what external things you're looking at that give you validation, and you're starting to connect your intuition. That final piece beneath everything else that is stopping you from embodying your magnetic self that is already within you is that element of fear. What are you afraid is going to happen on the other side? What is the thing that is preventing you from being your most magnetic, abundant self? That is what we're diving into this week. We have the worst case scenario DI, which it sounds really scary, but it is really the comforting roadmap of how to help process your fear. Give it validation for existing. It is likely there to do you a favor. So how can you sit with that fear in such a new way? And I just want to let you guys know it is not too late to start the challenge. So many people are actually starting now that the full challenge is out. We are going to leave it open throughout the rest of the summer and into the fall. So if you want to jump into the challenge at any point, I highly recommend it. You can join at any time. All you have to do is become a member and get full advantage of every single aspect of the challenge. And you can just go back and listen to the podcast episode that aired during those weeks. And you can also check our Instagram highlights to follow along as if you're doing it right there with us. I know I personally am going to be going back in and diving through a couple different layers because new things have come up. I truly feel like a whole different person on the side of this challenge. Huge manifestations have come through. I'll share with you guys soon, but it has been so profound and powerful. And honestly, having the support of the community alongside me doing this challenge, connecting with you guys every week through Instagram has really made this so effective and impactful. So keep going. If you haven't finished, you are warm welcome to start if you haven't started yet. And we are so excited to see what shakes out for you on the other side. And we have another big announcement to continue with all of this magnetism. Lacy and I are going on a magnetic self speaking tour this year. At this live speaking tour, you are going to hear brand new teachings from Lacy, from myself. We're going to get to connect with you guys in person. You're going to meet some friends, accountability buddies, people within the community. And we're going to have a brand new exercise where you are going to understand what your truly magnetic self desires to connect with love and money, and discover what the biggest block is in the way of the love and money connection. It was one of our most popular episodes, and we wanted to break it down even further on the speaking tour. You will also get access to a brand new Deep Imagining that you won't be able to find anywhere else for a while. We only have a few stops, so if we are in your city, make sure to come see us. We will be in New York City, September 16th, San Francisco on October 7th, Vancouver, British Columbia on November 4th, and back in our home city of Los Angeles on December 2nd. Tickets are going fast, and we are also in our early bird ticket pricing. So be sure to lock in these tickets and grab them before they sell out and before we move out of early bird pricing. Take whoever you want. You do not have to be a TBM member to join. Anyone is welcome, and come connect with the community. Your soul will be moved, your heart touched. It is just an unbelievable time. Today we have another incredible unblocking episode where Lacy is able to channel and tap into the exact energetics to help someone understand what their patterning is right now and what is in their way of them manifesting. And to note that the advice on this podcast is given for entertainment purposes only. If anyone is struggling with mental health or mental health symptoms, it is very important that you work side by side with a therapist or a mental health professional in order to help navigate, as every single case can be individual and vary person to person. And with all podcast episodes, it's so important to check in with what rings true to you. So if there's new information here that rings true in your body, take it and run with it. And if something doesn't align, just drop it and move on to the next.
And now, a word from our partners.
So when I picture my ultimate summer magnetic self day, I am at the beach, in the water, in the sun, maybe in the pool. I'm just out and about in the elements all summer long. And while I absolutely love it, my skin does not. So having a high quality skin care and body lotion product is an absolute must. So let me introduce you to my new favorite summer skin care support. Osea's Undaria Collagen Body Lotion and Osea's Algae Body Oil. If you are someone that needs a really nourishing, rich lotion but hates when you use something that's greasy and has a residue, the Undaria Collagen Lotion is for you. It is so lightweight, it absorbs almost instantly, it doesn't get on your clothes, it smells fantastic, and it leaves hydration for lasting, radiant skin. And I love to top it off with a little bit of the Undaria Algae Body Oil that helps to give that sun-kissed glow and dewy skin. And the Undaria seaweed that's inside of it helps to replenish the skin's moisture barrier. So as you're exposed to any salt, wind, sand, sun, chlorine from a pool, it will help to rebuild your skin's moisture barrier and give you glowy, healthy, vibrant skin. Osea has been making seaweed-infused products that are safe for your skin and the planet for over 27 years. You can even listen to our previous episode with one of the founders, Melissa, that Lacy did years back. We have been fans of them for so long. They make clean, vegan, cruelty-free, climate-neutral certified, so you never have to choose between your values and the best skin. So get your hydrated, healthy, magnetic girl glow on for the summer with Osea's body care. And right now we have a special discount for our listeners where you can get 10% off your first order site-wide with code TBM10 at OseaMalibu.com. Again, that's TBM10 at OseaMalibu.com. And that's not all. You can also get an extra 10% off plus free shipping when you have your favorite products delivered on repeat with their Subscribe and Save program. So head to OseaMalibu.com, OSEA Malibu.com, and use the code TBM10.
All right, on to the episode.
So glad to be here, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
We are so happy to have you. You have a process episode, which we'll have to link below here. You've been in the community for such a long time, such a guiding light. And that episode, it's how you manifested your authentic partnership.
Yep.
But give me a nutshell of what's going on now, because I have no backstory and haven't read anything. So in a nutshell, tell us what we're looking at today.
She's channeling live in the moment with no preconceived things.
Awesome. Okay, so basically, the last process episode I had, I talked about how I was in my master's program so that I could be in consulting because I was trying to value signal, like, I do know something, I can bring value. And so I got the degree, was able to get into consulting, had a remote position, it paid really well.
Manifested all of that too.
Yes, right. Yeah, totally. And had a great client, loved him, and got promoted, and everything was great. And then I started thinking about, okay, the client situation we're about to, for anybody that's not in consulting, so they have engagements. And so it's basically just projects and you get hired onto them. So I knew I was seeing the end of the road with this one project and it was going to have to find a new client and my company would give me that engagement. And I was kind of nervous about it because I was thinking, I don't really want to do consulting anymore. I want to invest in my time and energy into a company that I really align with. And I really did with that previous company that I was consulting for. And so now I've been facing a bunch of tests this past year. So 3 main ones. So I did some freelancing work for a wealthy family friend that I feel like took advantage of me and never ended up paying me for the work that I did. And then he recently called me a couple months ago and was like, hey, do you want to come work for me? And I said no. So it was like obvious test. And then a second one, if anybody remembers my previous process episode, I talked about I had a boss several years ago that said she wanted to choke me out because anyway, it was a long story. So just obviously wrong. And it was a startup, so there's no HR to go to at that time. So I had gone to an interview back in November of the 2022. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to get out of consulting, go to like an adjacent field for the client that I was supporting. And it was going to be really awesome, great pay, great role. And the person who was interviewing me was said that she would be my boss if I got hired on. And throughout the interview, I was like, pay's awesome, role's awesome, company's great, but the person I'd be working for reminds me of that woman who said she was going to choke me and just really aggressive. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go forward with this, even though it's like the dangling carrot. And so that was tough, but I said no. So then the client that I was working for thought, maybe they could hire me on full time because, they were gonna have the consulting engagement end. We were gonna be done as a company, but then maybe I could stick around. And that ended up falling through for various reasons. And so it kind of felt like all of these almost manifestations where I had actually had these personal connections and was trying to like exit my company that I'm in now. And so I feel like kind of like in this, I guess you'd call it a rut because everybody that I'm reaching out to like via LinkedIn or in other avenues, hasn't been working. So I'm kind of like, what do I do now? Like I feel I've gotten everything that I've wanted and now I'm ready to go to the next place, but I'm kind of stuck, it feels. So kind of wanted to see what your thoughts were.
And Lacy, just to paint the picture too, because I know a little bit more about his story. So it's you and your partner, right, who are launching this business?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. I'm glad
you guys are married.
So we're not married just yet, but we're so close. Yeah, I know. So hopefully by the end of the summer, we were gonna get eloped in May, but then he had a bunch of exams and stuff. It was just he's getting his MBA right now, and so it's been really tough. And we're not in a rush. We just thought we'd do it legally and get it done. And yeah, so like Jessica said, we started a business and we were doing some product design and we hope to launch later this year. And right when we did that, we got hit with several big bills. We had huge plumbing issues at our house now, and then we have a house that we rent out in Dallas, where we're from.
He's following your model, Lacy.
Yeah, I know.
Buying property and renting out.
Well done. Well done.
So once we started the business, we had got hit with like $70,000 of issues with both houses that were just sudden. We had to take care of it if we wanted the house to be made back whole. Yeah, so now we took care of those bills, and I've been getting hit with a ton of random like medical bills or like tolls from last year, and it was into my old address, and now it has huge late fees because they're just not finding me. So been trying to hit those, take care of them, get budgeting, underway. So I'm trying to be responsible, say no to the carrots, trying to be a good TVMer.
I mean, I'm already it's like just one very clear thing, but do you have an FU fund or did that all wipe out everything?
So I don't have an FU fund. My boyfriend does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's just so clear and keeps coming. So we can talk about how this can look, but it's like you're getting pushed out of your nest of this job. That's why it's the final thing to be like, you paid all these bills and everything. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're in a magic dark. You obviously know that. You've been doing this work for a long time. And so the fact that you turned down that job that was going to be more money, but it was, the boss replicated the energy of that other person that was really abusive. The universe is like, you sure? Yeah.
Right.
All right. And so it's just that clear. So what I want to explain to somebody who's a first-time listener, or maybe you haven't been doing this work, we talk a lot about one of the steps in manifestation. Our process is called the magic dark. And so that's after you've been unblocking, you've been passing tests, and you're in it, and you're trying to call in something greater than where you are that's more aligned with what you want. And that's very clearly what Parker's been calling in career. And so it's so textbook what's happening right now, which is so shitty because you're also pretty advanced in this work and you obviously manifest really well. And so this is that self-worth piece that the universe is like, cool, Parker feels all of his self-worth in relationship. Yes. He can invest in real estate. Yes. He can do all of this, but there's a piece there that the universe is like, there's still something shaky about him feeling that in career, really having that job that lights you up like you kind of had with a previous client. And so we need to figure out what that is right now. So it's two-part. You're being forced out of your current, you're literally, the universe is like, get out of here. It's kind of like rock bottoming you.
Yeah, right.
Magic dark rock bottom energy. It's like, get out of here. I have your thing for you, but I'm also not going to make it easy at all because I'm needing you to grow your self-worth fast enough to connect with this opportunity that's orbiting you. And so let's talk about what those fears are beyond the money, beyond any of those things, because we know that that's obvious, but there's something there that the universe would dangle a woman who replicates like the abusive woman in front of you and the people who took advantage of you. It's so clear that there's something there, probably from childhood, most likely. There's something there. So I want to know what it is.
Yeah, good question. I'm trying to think. So I know there's been some type of rhetoric about you think you're special or you should be grateful for what you have here at this company.
What was that one line you had in the submission where you were like looking for someone to like say, oh, you're good enough?
Oh, yes, my savior.
Yeah. Talk about that piece.
Yeah, so I fantasize about having this like benevolent savior come in and say, oh, I see how special you are and I know the value you bring, obvious, and I'm going to give this opportunity to you because I feel like you deserve it.
And everything you want with it.
Yes, right. And I know that savior complex is, I don't know, I should be my own savior probably in this case. So try not to take my power away is like what I'm struggling with.
Let's dig into that because that's the missing piece here, because it's very clearly a magic dark. That's the main phase you're in. So it's when you're in manifestation, you've been unblocking, you've been passing tests, you have been doing, and the universe pulls it's like the darkest before the dawn, the water's receding before it comes back in. But simultaneously, I can tell that Parker's opportunity is so close to him because it's simultaneously hitting you with some rock bottom energy that's like, Parker, you've got to grow your self-worth fast enough to connect with the self-worth of this thing. So it's like hitting you with these crazy bills and all this shit that's going to scare you. And it's two parts of why the universe is doing that. Because if the universe's only intention is to get us back into our whole worthy selves, it's dangling your greatest need. So you think at this point in your life, we all think this until we have it. Our greatest need is financial security and happiness. And then also it's hitting you with all of the fears surrounding it. The only thing that has to really happen here is there's two pieces here that have to happen. And your thing is so close, as you know, because you probably know your patterns and you know what it feels like when a manifestation is close, clearly, as in the magic dark. You're going to have to unblock whatever that savior complex is. And I'm going to make it even more clear. The energy that preys on you. What I mean by that is the abusive ex-boss, how she preyed on you, and also that family friend who was wealthy, how they preyed on you. It was both taking advantage of you, scapegoat, etc. And you've got to go figure out where that's from in childhood. Who was doing that and where and why?
And Parker shared the drag show and what the dynamics that happened there, because that's that same energy again.
Yeah, you're right. So at this MBA school that Bryce is going to, my fiance, his MBA class puts on an annual drag show just for the MBA students, no teachers, no other students. And it's a lot of fun. So it's like 400 people in the crowd. And so they had 10 people every year. And I was invited to be one of the drag queens or kings this year. So it was my first time doing drag. It was a lot of fun. We had a whole set. It was crazy. And I never did like performing. So this was really awesome to be like, I'm performing and connecting, and it was a lot of fun. And it was so nerve wracking, but I was so glad I did it. And I was like, gosh, I feel like sexy as hell. I feel so great, so much fun. And doing like really gay stuff, it's like, which is odd because I feel like you're usually put down for that. Had a great experience, and then shared, the pictures with my friends and family, like that couldn't make it obviously. And one half of my family, who I thought was like super accepting from the jump, was like suddenly like, you're a freak. You're making being gay your whole personality, which I'm like, if you actually knew me, you wouldn't actually feel that at all. It's like Parker does one gay thing his whole life and he's making it his whole personality. So I'm like, come on. So like, they were like, you shouldn't have children, or I'm afraid if you're going to expose them to drag queens. And I was like, literally, I was like the third gay person on, and there was like 7 other straight people participating. There were no kids there. It was very, I don't know, great.
Even if there are, who gives a
it's a beautiful
honestly,
celebration. Yes.
Totally. It was so much fun. So had those hard conversations. I was like, not okay. And it really upset some people because they were saying I was like canceling the family and stuff. I was like, no, I'm just putting this, like you put it, like, I'm not putting a brick wall up here. I'm putting like a chain link fence saying you can't come on this side and treat me like that.
Love that.
Good for you.
Thanks. So it was crazy. Like doing something so scary was awesome. And then getting that blowback from family it was interesting for sure.
Okay, so this is a similar energetic in a different way that it just shows me so clearly that your thing is close, because basically you were like, I'm going to walk through this fear that I have, putting myself out there, show like these nerves of like, I'm performing and doing all of this stuff. And then I share it and you get that shadow from your family, their shadow. But this test you passed like fabulously, like you've been passing all of the tests. You set your boundaries, like you did the thing you've been doing through all of these tests. But the big thing here is, did you do the unblocking around it? Did you get to the root of how do they feel that they can prey on me this way? Even though it's all their shit, there's something about them that still feels like they can tell me their shit.
Right.
So that's the root thing here that has to be unblocked. And I feel like you're going to be able to find the through line between all 3 of those pretty quickly. How the ex-boss preyed on you. What was the exact energy? What was it about you that it was okay for them to do that? Because it's never okay, but there's something from childhood that you're still projecting that they're preying on. And the moment that you change, this is like the boundaries workshop with your family, where you set the boundaries and you did the things and you got their shadow, but you probably hadn't changed it on a subconscious level yet before you set them. So that's like the only missing piece here is we have to figure out, you will, through doing deep imagining work in your subconscious, exactly this. What's the energy that she preyed on that boss, and what about you that's projecting that exact connection? And also the taking advantage of preying on you from the family member, exact connection. And same with the family, that they felt like they could put their shit on you. There's something there that's going to be the piece that's going to perfectly connect you with this thing. But I do get the sense that you're going to potentially have to jump off the cliff before you connect with it, which is going to be the really scary piece.
Okay.
So I would say with that, when it comes to money, we always talk about, I asked Parker in this, I was like, do you have your, what we call a fuck you fund, and that's usually 3 months, 6 months to a year that you could support yourself while you're going through most likely a magic dark, where Parker's at right now, like to get you through this phase where you can pass enough tests, you can do enough unblocking. With Parker, there's still like key unblocking that has to happen. But beyond that, the bridge is so important. So the one thing I was going to suggest, if you're like, I do the exact unblocking, I get it. Oh my God, that was the thing. I've integrated it. yes, universe, I see now why I'm being tested in these ways. And you might throw a couple more at me like this. I'm going to pass it with flying colors, subconsciously and consciously. So there's that. However, I do get the hit, like the channeling hit, that there's a potential you may have to jump off the cliff, leave this current position before you have the next huge one you're looking for. But I do totally sense that it's okay to have a couple of bridge one-off little projects and things like that float you through, because I think the bigger thing here the universe wants to know is that you're okay leaving the security of this job. So even if you're taking these little one-off things that feel in alignment, not an alignment where they have to be this, all the energy of this thing you're looking for, but it's like little projects that you are lit up about and that you are good at. It's not the end all be all thing you're going to take forever, but it's one-offs, two-offs, little just teeny things.
Yeah.
That's the channeling I'm getting based on the key piece that the universe is like, you're in a magic dark, but I'm also going to rock bottom. Little, right? Yeah. So those are the two things. And Jessica, what are yours?
Well, I'm thinking too, just for the listener at home, okay, so because Parker doesn't have that FU fund, what Lacy's saying is that if you don't have the FU fund, but you do want to jump off the cliff of the job, have other mini bridge jobs in between that will be your financial safety net.
Yes.
So she's not saying jump off the cliff and then don't take a job until like the main one comes in, because I think some people think that that's a route for them. They're like, I'm close, I'm just going to do it. But like you do need to be financially sound and smart. And so she's saying if you don't have that net or you don't have the FE fund, that's fine. You just might have to take bridge jobs that aren't the things on your list. And it's okay to almost, it's not settling, but it's helping you expand a little bit financially while the bigger thing comes in.
It's just bridging you from one to the other, and actually feel like your thing is very close in the moment that you take. I know it's very close because the universe wouldn't be rock bottoming you energy at the same time you're in a magic dark if it wasn't like, come on, grow your self-worth to connect with this thing that's orbiting so close to you. So, they're to bridge you from this teeny gap of leaving this place to this next thing. And you are advanced enough to know even when that they will be little one-offs and stuff. You're not going to walk in and take the job or the thing. And that's just the one energetic to look out for.
I think that's great.
Parker, you mentioned a lot about like, what is the aligned action I can take? What's the action I can take? I think when you do that unblocking piece and really sit with what is my inner child sense of self-worth, what is it believing about myself that like I was entertaining or around these energies before, and really give it a healing and let it know it's safe and it doesn't deserve that. It never does it, like even the savior, like having a DI where you are the savior going in and saying like, you are so good at this. You are so talented. You're so seen, like all of that.
Yeah. The safety DI, would you say, Jessica?
Yeah. Safety DI. And then that safe person will be you, like a higher self, magnetic self. And then the other piece too is that aligned action. I don't want to say don't worry about it, but I would say think about how your last manifestations have come through and what portals that like a job came through or an opportunity came through. Like, was it through your networks? Was it because you applied to things? Was it through pings? There's something there that'll show the aligned action, but it's almost like the aligned action doesn't matter until that unblocking piece is done.
I totally agree.
Well, the one thing I was going to say, Parker, too, you had said your partner has the FU fund, but I get the hit on this. You do have that unblocking and that integration. And then you do finally go like, today's the day. I got the ping. Today's the day to just move on from this thing while I'm taking these other one-offs. Like totally fine for him to pay this bill, cover this thing. But obviously still taking the one-offs and the stuff is going to be more magnetic than relying on that.
Right. Definitely. I love it. I feel really good about this. I'm so glad that we're chatting. So like Jess said, Parker's been asking about like aligned action, this, that. And I think that comes from my background and the line of work that we do is so mental and heady and just action oriented. This kind of work is also like internal. And so the things inside can like shift really fast. And that has just as an impact as making, a strategy deck on PowerPoint. So
yes, that's such a huge point. I'll find that when I unblock one big targeted thing, like what you're going to focus on, like some and then I can really feel around it. I'm like, oh, dude, I've changed. Like, I'm not going to take that shit anymore. And I don't have to do it. I'm not going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like moves more mountains in my life, than most of the shit that I do in the physical and action orientated. But to get back to that question, we all answered it here. What's the aligned action I can take? It's leave this job.
I know, honestly.
But don't do it until you unblock.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're just going to still be in a magic dark rock bottom.
For sure. That's great.
Speaking of manifestations, one major manifestation that has come through for me recently is Bon Charge's infrared PEMF mat. Their PEMF mat, which stands for Pulse Electromagnetic Field, is a magnetic energy mat that sends energy waves to work with your body's natural magnetic field and improve your overall well-being. Now, I originally heard of PEMF mats back in the day. I used the first one at Lacy's Forest Retreat House, and I kind of didn't really think it was going to do anything at first. And when I laid on this mat, I'm telling you, my whole body just relaxed. My nervous system relaxed, and I fully was able to calm down. Fast forward a few years later, one of our absolute favorite companies, Bon Charge, has launched their own PEMF mat, and it is fully loaded with all the best biohacking techniques you can imagine. So not only do they have multiple frequency settings, one for delta waves to improve deep sleep, one for grounding and earthing that is in the frequency of Schumann's resonance, which is the Earth's magnetic field frequency, one for alpha waves to increase calm creativity, one for beta waves for logical thinking, conscious thought, or meditation, and one that cycles through all four to really align all different parts of your body. But that's not all. They also have red, near infrared, and far infrared light wave frequencies. You've heard me talk about this before, but red light therapy can be so impactful for muscle soreness, tension, pain in the body, detoxification, and so many more things. It is also packed with tourmaline gemstones, germanium gemstones, and amethyst crystals, which all help to balance your mood, keep you calm, activate spiritual awareness, open intuition, and attract positive ions from your body to keep you in that balanced state. Like I said, this thing is fully loaded. So once we received it, we unloaded it into our living room, and it honestly hasn't left the floor because I find myself jumping on it multiple times a day. When I want to meditate before the start of my day, or when I'm needing to process and do a DI, it helps to take me deeper, calm my body, calm my nervous system. It is so good for meditation practices. It just helps you go a lot deeper. And when you are needing grounding breaks throughout the day, it is fantastic. So if you are interested in trying Bon Charge's new infrared PEMF mat, you can use the code MAGNETIC, that's all caps, MAGNETIC for 15% off. Again, that's magnetic, MAGNETIC for 15% off. Or you can go to boncharge.com/pages/magnetic and check out some of the other incredible biohacking low EMF products that Bon Charge has to offer. The other kind of interesting energetic I'm thinking too is like, okay, so this next job that has the high paying salary that feels in alignment is kind of, it seems like still going to be like a special bridge job in a sense, because you guys are working on your company. And he was saying that like in the next 3 years, they could probably be profitable. So he's like, okay, let me have this solid job, save up money, FU fund, whatever, and eventually transition to that. But you're also preparing to have kids.
Yeah.
That explains the family piece. I'm like, why did that happen? You're calling in babies. That's why it happened. They're trying to hit you with this stuff, unknowingly even probably. It's just their shadow and their fears and their stuff. But that's why they're trying to hit you with all of that.
Yeah, the kid piece. Yeah. No, it's so exciting. For anybody listening, so like I haven't really heard so much about this online, but so we're going through IVF. So we have an egg donor. She's amazing. So that was one of my main manifestations this year. Ours. Thank you. She's so goofy, so funny, really smart. So love it. And so she goes through.
Sorry, I keep cutting. I'm like excited about it.
No,
Like,
it's okay.
A surrogate as well.
So she won't be the surrogate. It's crazy. The surrogacy companies, they don't even want to talk to you if you don't have frozen embryos. So yeah, it's nuts. So once we have the frozen embryos, they're good. Then we can start talking to the surrogacy companies. So that'll be end of this month is when she starts like the medicine for egg retrieval. So super cool. And then the like 70K that we had to spend on home repairs, that was going to be part of our money for like surrogacy. So that's also pushing the timeline out. But I kind of feel like with your story, babies come when they know they need to come. And so I feel like that gives me like hope that, oh, it's just not the time right. We were planning next year that they'd come, but maybe in a couple of years it's even better. So
as you were talking about this process, in my heart, my mind, I was like, it's going to happen. Like, it's for me. Okay. So, I went through 5 years of like not receiving all the stuff, and then eventually IVF. And I feel like we had like a super baby. But like the moment I had her, I was like, if I had had her 5 years ago, none of this would have happened to be magnetic. None of it would have happened, like my life. And so I actually don't sense that your guys' baby will be as far off as you think. I actually feel that baby a little bit closer. And thank you for sharing your journey, because I think that's really expansive for a lot of couples, because they're like, okay, how? Like, what are we going to do? As a gay couple, like there's so many avenues to bringing a child into the earth, or being, my friends, their resource, they have one biological child and they have just adopted as resource parents the baby they got at 6 days old. And then they just got another little baby.
Wow.
There's so many avenues, and it's really cool to hear that you guys are going the full, so that there is part of your DNA, a part of like, this is so beautiful. I'm so excited. And are you guys going to do where you both?
It's nuts.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
I know. So it's going to be awesome. So we'll have some eggs that are inseminated with his sperm, and then some with mine. It'll be crazy. Yeah. And also that's another thing too, is thinking about, like, I've also had some shadow about like having a non-biological child, because I had seen in childhood a lot of people who weren't respected by their step parents or like non-biological parents. And I feel like I've been able to totally work through that, because obviously like I love Bryce so much. And so having like a little mini hem is so exciting. And so, because we actually we had to do like some psychological testing with the IVF clinic as part of the process. And they're like, how would you feel if none of the eggs that you inseminated took? So all you end up were with Bryce's embryos. And I was like, honestly, I wouldn't give a fuck. I mean, obviously it's sad, like, like you don't have a part of your DNA going on, but honestly, like if you love someone like that, his babies are your babies, So
yeah, I love that. This is such an expansive conversation.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm so grateful that you're sharing this for anybody listening. It's just, there's so many cool avenues to, bring your family into the world. It's really,
for sure.
Exciting. But now that makes sense about the family, especially that key piece that like you can have kids one day. The universe is like, is there a piece of you that goes, I'm a bad person, or I did something wrong, or something's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you were like, nope.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's so cute. In fact, my friends, I was just talking about in our hometown, we were all going out to dinner one night. The closest sort of town is Merced. And we were all going out to dinner with their kids. Or we had just gone to the pumpkin, this like beautiful heirloom pumpkin patch in Merced, which is like a gift that's even in Merced. Anyway, I digress. We go to the restaurant, and there's this incredible drag show going on. And like the first thing we all tried to do with our kids is buy tickets. And sold out for months, obviously. But I just like, this, and we all know this, that's just their shit that they're putting on you. The universe is testing, like, do you really believe it's just their shit or your shit?
Yeah, right. Am I really a freak, like they say? Like, no. I know one thing was like crazy. My grandma was like, they were all laughing at you. I was like, no, they weren't. You weren't even there. It was so much fun. I was like a superstar. That's also been the thing, is like having grace for them and like rising above, being like, they're just older, they don't have as much access to exposure. I mean, they don't actually leave the county that often. So leaving the state, leaving the country, I mean, it's a whole other thing.
There was one other thing that you said in the submission too, and you're like, should I put that I'm in a major city versus like a college town? And you saying like, oh, they haven't even left. There's shadow about being in that small town. So think about that too.
Yo, good connection.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really, really good point, especially calling in, because I imagine that some of the opportunities that you're calling in are remote.
Right.
Yeah.
For the time being, yeah.
That's really great. There's so many people out there settling for unfulfilling relationships, or people who are stuck in toxic jobs, living in places and spaces that don't inspire them, and especially people who feel like they'll never be able to afford the things and the life that they truly desire. How do I know that? Because it was me before I discovered that manifestation is actually a totally viable, scientifically proven method of creating the life you want. I'm Lacy, I'm the founder of To Be Magnetic, and if you're not familiar with us, we at TBM offer workshops that teach you how to manifest literally everything, from love to money to career to beyond. Our courses are the most effective manifestation method on the market, and that's because of a secret that I discovered years ago about manifestation, which is you do not manifest from your thoughts. You manifest from your subconscious beliefs. So after decades of client research and input from leading doctors and therapists, we designed courses that help you rewire your subconscious mind to align with what you want to manifest. And the best part of all, for any skeptic out there, our work is completely scientifically proven to work. Just ask the tens of thousands of members inside our Pathway membership, which gives you unlimited access to all of our workshops, tools, and offerings that you'll use over the course of a year. This includes workshops on inner child, shadow, boundaries, love, money, the infamous ruts, and the horrible rock bottoms, and so much more. Use our special code EXPANDED, all caps EXPANDED, to receive $20 off your first TBM purchase. Again, that's all caps EXPANDED, EXPANDED. Okay, now back to the episode. Any questions for us, Parker, before?
Gosh, honestly, no questions, because I feel like we've been having such great conversations here. Like, I feel like I've gotten the next steps on how to unblock, and I know where to point. So that's been amazing. But I guess I also just want to say thanks for having me on here. I have like second time. It's such a blessing, and getting to meet you finally and getting to see you again, Jess. So it's just been awesome. I love it. I'm a true TBMer. I feel like I've been here. I've actually been here since April 2019.
Wow.
I even got manifestation journal. Like I'm really like devoted to this, so
maybe share with everybody who hasn't caught your last episode yet, everything you've been able to manifest. The moment we signed on, I knew. I was like, it's Parker!
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. So let me think. Some big manifestations. I'm trying to go chronologically. So the big one obviously was Bryce. So manifesting him after having shitty relationships. I dated women and men, and navigating that and the shadow around, if you date a man, is that okay? Is that good? And especially if you could love a woman, what she could give you that. And it's just weird psychological games. So I got rid of that, was done with hookups, done with people treating me poorly and hot and cold, emotionally
unavailable.
Yeah. Had a magic dark, and then a couple of days after I quit that job, where the lady said she was going to choke me, I met Bryce. So it was amazing.
That pattern, though,
yeah,
totally. After you quit, the manifestation.
Yeah, it was great, and I had a weird intuitive ping where that's why when I first started getting into pings, is I saw him on Bumble and I saw his profile and I was like, I've got to find him on social media and just reach out. And I never was the kind of guy that slid into people's DMs, but I did with him, and it worked. And I don't know, it's been such a beautiful process. Same thing happened with our egg donor. We were just going through, and it's very similar to Tinder and Bumble, honestly. And so you go through profiles, and I saw her and I was like, that is my baby mama. That is her. She's awesome. And reading more, and we were just convinced that's her. What else? Oh, a job. So after the podcast, I had manifested a great internship, but I knew it wasn't exact. At the end, I was like, this is not exactly what I want to do. I want to go real deal consulting. It was kind of half consulting, half auditing. And I was like, I don't want to do auditing. And so they said, you can either take the job or try to recruit next year. And I was like, ugh. And it was a big company. My parents were like, you'd be stupid to not take this, And Bryce was like, no, like you could make twice that. You're so great. And so I was like, okay, yep, I'm gonna like not accept the offer. I went back through recruiting and then found this current job that I'm in that was making like literally twice that.
Wow. Go Bryce.
Yes, I know. He's a TV nerd too, so he knows. So that was great too. So I don't want to come across on this episode of being like, oh, I can't manifest career. It's like I've gotten the thing that I wanted and now I'm like ready for the next thing as I feel like it's kind of shifting.
What about the real estate stuff? Did you have to go through the process with that?
Yeah, right. So Bryce has a nice nest egg. And so that's how we were able to buy these homes. One was in Dallas, where we were living at the time, and found an amazing house, great big backyard. I was able to garden, great for our pups. That was awesome. It was a lot of tests with that, a lot of pushback from our realtor at sometimes. We were like, no, this is the one. And we got it, and it was awesome. And then this house that I'm in now, we actually beat out corporate investors for real estate because the lady who owned this house was like, we were not the highest bidder at all. But she's like, I don't want to give this house away that I've lived in forever to just a random CEO person or a random corporate guy. I want to give it to y'all because like y'all are real people. And so it was awesome. It was amazing. This is a great big backyard too for us to enjoy. And yeah, it's been awesome.
I'm also like personally so happy to catch up with what
Yes, I know. Thank you. Me too.
And what about Bryce? Like, what's his next step?
So he just finished the first year yesterday.
Wow.
All the exams done. Super great. So he has an internship this summer. The irony of this is insane. The company that hired him for the internship is the client that I used to work for, who is freaking awesome. So I was like, Bryce, they're great. I've already vetted them. I've been to the office. I know the coworkers that you would want to meet. The city's amazing. So we'll actually be going up to New Jersey for the summer. So I'm so pumped for him. And also, they give you like $30,000 in IVF care. So if we waiting, having this $70K that we had to spend for the housing, it's good that we have to wait because we get free money.
And that also shows you that everything is just energy, right? Like, I don't know what you guys were feeling when you got hit with all of those like insane bills during this sort of rock bottom energy, but also it goes to show you where it's like, it's all the universe just dancing with you to get into your whole worthy, authentic self, which you guys are both on the quest for.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, he's super excited. So we're really glad.
Well, keep us posted.
Yes, I sure will.
Well, thank you so much, Parker.
Thank you. Such a pleasure.
Talk soon. I hope you all enjoyed that episode with Parker. Be sure to go back and listen to his initial process. You will likely see so much growth in his story, and you'll even see growth in my story from my earlier days of co-hosting. I also wanted to kind of give a roadmap for anyone out there who listened to Parker's story, is starting to peel apart, recognize some patterns. It's like, okay, if I feel in a similar spot as Parker, if I feel like I'm getting tested, I'm trying to pass these tests, I don't really know what they all root down to. I feel like I'm in a magic dark, maybe I'm in a rock bottom, but I'm kind of in this slog, right? Nothing's really the right thing, the manifestation and all the pieces, it just isn't coming through. So this is what I would recommend you guys do. For a quick unblocking, which is what we kept saying to him, we're like, the unblocking piece is so key. There's a couple DIs that we recommend. The unblock DI, the inner child DI, the driver's seat DI, and the worst case scenario DI, which is the two last ones I mentioned, our inner magnetic self challenge. What you really want to look at is, what do all of these tests root down to? What belief about myself is being pressed upon? What limiting belief? And can you comfort yourself and show yourself, wait a second, is that belief really true? Is that really the fact? Or am I worthy? Am I good enough? Am I sort of the opposite of that? And start to really find the ways in which you can reinforce that new positive belief. So I would even maybe check out the monthly check-in journal prompts to really deduce down what your patternings are right now, and then use any of those DIs to really unblock and sit with that emotion. Validate, Parker went through some really traumatic things with his work, with family, all of these pieces. And he needs to comfort and protect and feel all the emotions he felt around those really challenging situations. It's incredible that he passed the test, but there's still emotions that are connected with it. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. When we pass our test really quickly, we still probably had an emotional reaction to the test happening. Did you give yourself space to feel those emotions fully? That's the process that you can do in the journaling and in the deep imagining. And then if anyone hasn't done the Magnetic Self Challenge, I know we've been talking about it nonstop, but it is really the perfect roadmap back to yourself, to move through a magic dark and to connect with your manifestation. So that would be my other big recommendation. Go week over week through the Magnetic Self Challenge through the lens of what the tests and triggers are coming up. I'm wishing you guys a beautiful week ahead, and I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and we will see you next week.